A good Tavach, this is Gemara and Eruvin, Daf Yomi, a good Yar. All the learning for this coming week is sponsored as a Schus Refuah Shleima for Yisrael Chaim ben Yehudis, learning during the Seres Yemei Tshuva, Shvi Schus Yisrael Chaim ben Yehudis. Of course, all the other Chayim B'Dibin, Menikir, Menim, V'Ingel, Chaim B'Rem Chanit, Chaim B'Sar, Shem Simon, Yizleit, Osar, Baskinadi, Basim, Chaisar, Chaim Saras, Yisrael B'Mendel, Hedaj B'Nis Shavlei, Shem Asnavi, Shavig, B'Shin Chanef, Odav, Nitriv, and Ilan Chanel, Rezel, Chaim Nachman ben Mindel, Yisrael, new week, new year, new everything, new month. If anyone would like to partake in this chusim, please be in touch. Let's pick it up from the bottom. Mem Aleph Amid Beis Amar Rav Papa Pirish Yatzu Chutz Latzchom V'Chazru. We are 4 lines from the bottom of Mem Aleph and Beis. Rav Papa teaches us a din that if the fruit left the Tchom V'Chazru and then they came back in, Afilu b'Meizid, even if you did it on purpose, meaning you weren't allowed to do that because you're not allowed to move things out of a Tchom in a Tchom, but you did so. Still, Lo Yifsudu Es Mekayim, says Rav Papa, tremendous chiddush, that even though you did something incorrect, but the Pirais now, we know that Tchom bounds people as well binds items. Says Rav Papa, so if the Pirais left and then they came back in, even b'mezid, still they do not lose their place and they get the regular original Tchom. My time, what's the reason? Anusin inu, the Pirais, the fruit, were forced. They were anusim because they were moved. They didn't do something wrong. Fruit again that doesn't have a say in the matter, and therefore the fruit is allowed to be moved now, like originally was, as the regular tzchum. So Isir of Isbar Shmei Rav Papa, or Isbar Shmei is not so happy as Rav Papa. Says in a brayser, from the Chamir of Elazar Yaakov Aimer Loilam Asur Najatzel Mekayman Shaygigin, that it's usher until you bring back the fruit, bring back the item, b'shaygig to the place. What's the obvious implication? B'shaygig b'meizilai. We see very clearly that's only if it comes back b'shaygig. If it came back b'meizid on purpose, seemingly you would not be allowed to use that fruit because it left the tchum. It came back in be'isr incorrectly. Therefore, seemingly you would not be allowed to use it. So he's asking, Honor of Papa, why did you tell me even b'meizid you'd be allowed to use those fruits? It would get the original tchum. Answers the Gemara, a little bit of long-winded answers. Let's keep chesed over here. Says the Gemara Tanayi. Really, it's machlekes Tanayim. Rav Papa said even b'meizid gets the original tchum and you can eat the fruit. Rav Shmaya, Rav Yosef Bar Shmaya said only b'shaygig. Those 2 opinions is a machlekes Tanayim. The Tanya learned in a brayso. Pirish yatzu chutz l'tchum. The last line over here. B'shaygig yoichelu b'meizid lo yoichelu. If the fruit leaves the tchum, if it leaves b'shayig, again, this is not the case that we need, because this is talking about it only left, it did not come back in. So Pirish Yatzu, the Gemara is going to modify this in a moment, so let's keep things clear. Pirish Yatzu chutz l'tchum, it left the tchum b'shayig, not on purpose, you just by accident made a mistake. Yoichlu, you're allowed to eat it, but if it left on purpose, lo yichlu, you cannot eat it. Moving along to Membezim and Aleph from Nechanya Omer, b'mekayman yoichlu, if it's in its place. Now, what does b'mekayman mean? So Rashi says the pashup shot is b'mekayman means if it came back to its original place, then yoichelu, you can eat it. Shaloi b'mekayman, if it did not come back to its original place, then lo yoichelu, you cannot eat it. Says the Gemara, my b'mekayman, what does it mean it comes back to its original place in this last statement of Rav Nechani? Again, the brayso began and the brayso said if the Pirus left, then we have 1 din. Says Rav Nechani, if it's b'mekayman, you can eat it. Shloi b'mekayman, you can eat it. Says Gemara, what does that mean? Ilema b'mekayman, if it means b'mekayman b'mezid, which means that you brought it back in on purpose, and then Rav Nechani would be teaching us like kula, like Rav Papa, that if it comes back in b'mezid, you're allowed to eat it. V'akatani b'hedil, but we said explicitly on the bottom of the previous Amud, 3 lines up, Rav Nechani, Rav Elazar ben Yaakov, Aimer lo'ilam asur na'sheflim b'mekayman shaygigin. They said it's only b'shaygig, shaygigin b'meizilai. So it's clearly not if it's done on purpose. So they can't mean what this Rav Nechani means. Again, we had a statement prior that Rav Nechani said clearly only b'shaygig. So now when we're trying to figure out what does Rav Nechani mean when he says b'mekayman, in its place you can eat it, not in its place you cannot eat it, it cannot mean that it's going to be a difference b'shaygig and b'meizid, because we know that Rav Nechani says it's din only b'shaygig, not b'meizid. Elolav, so says the Gemara, what must it mean? B'mekayman, what does it mean it's b'mekayman in its place? B'shaygig, it means it's in its place, b'shaygig. V'chasuri mechsav ha'achik tani. So now we're going to reinvent this whole brayso all the way from the top, and this is how we're going to end with a machlekes tanayim, whether when it comes back home, b'mezid, whether you can eat it, says the Gemara. This is the opening statement of the brayso, which was the opening statement of the previous Amud. Says the Gemara, the last line. That was the brayso. You're only allowed to eat it if it was b'shaygi, not on purpose. If it was done on purpose, you can't eat it. So when is that? That means only when it's not in its proper place. If seemingly meaning if it came back home, the Pirus were brought out of the tchum and now they come back. Afilu b'mezid yoichelu. So Tanakama is going to be the opinion to teach us that if it comes back in, even b'mezid, even on purpose, again, let's get the case. You're sitting home and someone by accident takes your fruit and brings it out of the chum, and then you went on purpose and transgressed and brought that fruit back home, b'mezid yoichelu like Rav Papa. And on that, on that is where Nechemia commented that's only true b'shegig, I argue, and not b'mezid. And that is going to be our machlekes tanayim. The Rav Nechemia is going to be the mekel, the machmer, I'm sorry, he's going to say that only works b'shegig. And the Tanakama is going to say like Rav Papa that it works even b'mezid. And that is the teretz of the Gemara, spanning back from the bottom of the previous Amud. Rav Papa began today by teaching us even b'mezid you can eat the fruit. The Gemara asked on Rav Papa. The Gemara now answers it's machlekes tanayim. Rav Papa says like the Tanakama that even b'mezid you can eat it. Rav Nechemia says like the Gemara's question that b'shogig you eat it, b'mezid you cannot eat it. B'shogig meaning not on purpose, inadvertent, b'mezid meaning on purpose. It says the Gemara loy, it is an incorrect assessment of that brisa. B'mezid, what does it mean b'mezid? B'mekayman. If it's b'mezid back home, the fruit comes back home into the chum. That is not a point of debate. Everyone agrees that case is aser. What is our case? That's the machlekes. Meaning, the Gemara now is suggesting that the machlekes in this brisa has nothing to do with our discussion. We started off today a discussion of Papa. The Gemara asked Rav Papa about the payers that came back home. The Gemara thought we had a brisa that could be a machlekes tonight. Says the Gemara right now, no shaykhis. The machlekes in this Gemara is about sheyatzu, shaloi b'mekayim. When the payers are out, they are out of the tchum. They're not arguing at all when the payers come back home. Tanakama savar b'shayig shari. If it's a shaygig, it's mutter even, and this is a chiddush now the other way. Tanakama is learning that b'shaygig, the payers are out in Yehovitzville, still you're allowed to eat those fruits because it was a shaygig. Shalai b'mekayman. Rav Nechemia savar afilu shaygig b'mekayman in shalai b'mekayman lai. Rav Nechemia says no. Even on a shaygig, a big chumrah, when it comes back home, now it's in its original chumrah, let you eat it. But when it's shaloi b'mekayman, when it's out there, says in the Nechemia, even b'shaygig, I'm not going to let you eat it. So this machlekes now, the way the Gemara is learning up this price, has nothing to do with our discussion of Papa. It's completely different machlekes about shaloi b'mekayman. Says the Gemara, it doesn't work. What did the Sefer the Brisa say? Rav Nechemia Rav ben Yankiv Oimrim Lo Oilam Asurim Ad Sheyachzu L'Mekayman. It's always forbidden until it comes back home. Shoygigin, not on purpose. Shoygigin, Mezilai. So what do we see there? Rav Nechemia, Rav Elazar ben Yaakov are teaching us that din is only b'shaying, not b'mezid. What's the obvious implication? That Rav Nechemia, Rav Elazar ben Yaakov are coming along as a secondary opinion teaching of this. So what did the Tanakama? They argued. Mechlal Tanakama savar b'mezid nami shari. So what do we see? Clearly, the Tanakama holds that even b'mezid, b'mekayman is going to be mutter. So Shema Mina, so the Gemara concludes, the Gemara reverts back to its original machlekes tanayim, that it is indeed a machlekes tanayim between Rav Nechemia and the Tanakama, whether the fruit comes back home b'mezid, whether you're going to be allowed to eat that fruit. Says the Gemara, new Gemara, 2 dots, holding about 12 lines for the end of Membezam and Alf. Amram Nachman Amr Shmuel, Hayam Mahalach V'Inu Dei Tzchum Shabbos. A new case. You're walking middle of Shabbos. You don't know where your tzchum is. You have no clue. What's the halacha? Says Ram Nachman Amr Shmuel, Mahalach Alpayim Psiyos Beinanis. Take 2,000 medium-sized stabs of Zui Tzchum Shabbos. And then we could assume that that's going to be the 2,000 Amos, and that's your new tzchum. Statement number 1 of Rav Nachman Amr Shmuel. Statement number 2 of Rav Nachman Amr Shmuel. Rav Nachman Amr Shmuel. Shavas bebika bekifu anachrim. You dwelled in a valley, random valley. You're chilling there, and Shabbos becomes no problem. There are no walls. Then, and therefore, if there's no walls, how far are you allowed to walk? You have your kind of shvisa. That's where you're living for Shabbos. However, therefore, you have your tchum of 2,000 Amos, but you can't carry anything because there's no walls. V'kifu anachrim. Then on Shabbos, Goyim come and build walls around your valley. You're fired up, got walls. Great. What's halacha? V'kifu anachrim b'chitza b'Shabbos. They built walls on Shabbos. Says Rav Nachman, we had some machlekes. The first opinion of Rav Nachman Shmuel says, Mahalich alpayim amma. You're allowed to walk 2,000 amos. Umitaltel bekula al yidei zrika. So for 2,000 amos, Rashi explains, you could walk and you could carry. Again, right now, you're in an enclosed area, because there were mechitzas that were made on Shabbos. Mechitzas and nasas al yidei Shabbos. Seemingly, Rav Nachman is learning that mechitzas that are made on Shabbos are good mechitzas. So you're sitting in this valley, all of a sudden there are walls that are put up by the Goyim. Great! So you can now carry. How much can you carry? Says Rav Nachman, not the entire enclosure. Why not? You could carry your 2,000 amos. More than that, you cannot carry. What are you allowed to do? You're allowed to throw it there. Why can't you carry more than 2,000 amos? Anyone who's bothered by that question, you should be, because you can't walk there, because you're not allowed to walk 2,000 amis. That's your tchum. So of course you can't carry more than 2,000 amis. But it says Rav Nachman, but you could throw something out of the 2,000 amis because it's in an enclosed area. That is the first opinion of Nachman Amar Shmuel. Rav Huna argues and he says, Mahalich alpayim ama, you're allowed to walk 2,000 amis. However, when it comes to metaltel, when it comes to carrying something, metaltel dalit amis, you're only allowed to carry 4 amis. That is what Rav Huna says. Let's just read 2 more lines of the Gemara and then we'll see a Rashi. Says the Gemara, why Rav Huna? Why do you hold that? Rav Huna, why don't you agree that there were walls that were built on Shabbos? So let them at least throw it. We don't really know why Rav Huna is saying only 4 amos. We have to see that in a moment. But says the Gemara, I don't understand. Rav Huna, you should be allowed to throw something. There are walls right now. You're in a Rosh Hashanah, you're in an enclosed area. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna is worried about a new concern. Shema yimshach acher chafatzai. Maybe you'll come to go after, be drawn after your chayfetz if you throw it out of 2,000 amis. Ba'alpayim. So now, the Gemara says, okay, fine, 1 second. So Ba'alpayim is the talto, so at least carry 2,000. Why Rav Huna, you're only allowed to carry 4 amis. Ki urchay, says, like normal, says the Gemara, Mishum nad kimachitza, shenifrasa b'meluya l'makay ma'asala. The reason is Rav Huna views this as if it's a machitza that is busted open to an area that's usher. This should be reminiscent of the Gemara that we had. We have a small chutzner opening into a larger chutzner. And we said in that case, we spoke about the fact that whenever you have an area which opens up into an area that you're not allowed to carry in the other area, that potentially could usher you in your area. So says Rav Huna, you're standing in this bikah. Let's go in order. Shabbos Bik came, you're in a bikah, there are no walls. Could you carry anything? Of course not. There's no walls. Are you allowed to walk? You're allowed to walk 2,000 amis. Great. Now the guy can come and build a wall. So says the first opinion, you now have a wall, you let it carry. How much? You're 2,000 amas, more than that you can throw. Says Rav Huna, 1 second. What do you want to do exactly right now? You want to carry based on those new walls? Says Rav Huna, no way, because the new walls are bigger than the area that you're allowed to walk. You're only allowed to walk 2,000 amas. The walls are 3,000 amas, let's say. So that's considered that the walls are opened up into an area that you cannot carry. It's opened into an area that is forbidden to you. Therefore, says Rav Huna, we make a gezeira not allowing you to carry even within your original 2,000 amas. And therefore, says Rav Huna, how much can you carry? 4 amas. Why don't we at least let you throw something out of the 4 amas? Says Rav Huna, a different reason. Because we're afraid you might be drawn after your chayfetz. You might go chase after the ball after you throw it. That is the machlekes. Actually, we got it without Rashi, so we'll leave it without Rashi. Again, let's just get this clear. Rav Nachman allows you to walk 2,000 amis. You're allowed to throw something even out of the 2,000 amis, because right now there are walls. Mechitzas built in Shabbos are good mechitzas. Therefore, you could throw and you could carry really within the whole area. You just can't walk more than 2,000, so you can't carry more than 2,000. Rav Huna says you could walk 2,000. Carrying, you're limited to 4 amis because it's considered an area which is opened up to an area that you're not allowed to carry in. Therefore, you're limited by 4 amis. Why can't you throw it? Because we're afraid you're going to be drawn after the item and go carry in an area that you're not allowed to carry. That is machlekes Rav Nachman versus Rav Huna. Says the Gemara, Chir by Rav Amar, seemingly interesting opinion. 4 lines on the bottom, 6 lines on the bottom. Chir by Rav Amar, Mahalich alpayim ama, umetalted alpayim ama. You could walk 2,000 and you could carry 2,000. Says the Gemara, come on, Chir by Rav, you're smack in the middle of everyone. So like Rav Nachman, like Rav Huna, who are you holding like? Says the Gemara, Ema, so you know what Chir by Rav meant? Metaltal ba'arba, he meant you can only carry 4 amos. So yeah, Rav Huna, great. So now you're Rav Huna. Ema v'chein amar Chir by Rav. So why are you pretending that you're saying a new opinion? You're saying the same thing as Rav Huna. So say v'chein, and so too says Chir by Rav. Amar Rav Nachman Rav Huna. And I'm sorry, and that's what the Gemara concludes. Ema v'chein amar Chir by Rav, that he is saying the same thing as the second opinion. So Amar le Rav Nachman le Rav Huna. So now we have this debate. Rav Nachman allowing you to carry a full 2,000 and throw out of the 2,000. In a case where the guy built walls in your valley on Shabbos. Rav Huna allowing you only to carry 4 amis. Why not? Number 1 is you might come to be drawn after the area. Number 2, it's like it's busted open to an area you're not allowed to carry. So now we're going to have a discussion between Rav Nachman and Rav Huna, figuring out who's right. Again, Rav Nachman is the makel, he gets the bigger area. Rav Huna is the more machmir, a small area. Hey, Rav Huna is smaller than the nun of the Nachman. So Rav Nachman is a large area. Only Rav Nachman Rav Huna. Don't argue on Shmuel. Again, Rav Nachman said this over in the name of Shmuel. So Rav Nachman says, Rav Huna, what are you arguing on Shmuel? The Tani Kava say, because it's a brace like him. The Tani we learned in a brace. Moving along to Membeis, I'm in a base. Someone is measuring. Someone puts down his ear before Shabbos, and now on Shabbos he's measuring exactly how far, or actually not necessarily on Shabbos, he's measuring how far, you're not allowed to measure on Shabbos, he's measuring how far he's allowed to walk, so he's measuring. And all of a sudden, the 2,000 amma, the end of the measuring stick, falls smack in the middle of the city. What's the halacha? Mutter letalta b'chol ha'ir kula. You're allowed to carry in the whole city. Ubilvad shelo yaver es l'tchum b'raglav. Obviously, you can't go past your tchum. So wherever your tchum goes, that's where you could carry and walk until. So what does it mean that you could carry in the whole city? He just said, it's contradictory statement. You could carry the whole city, but you can't walk more than 2,000 amas. So b'mayim taltel, says Gemara, so what does that mean you could carry in the whole city? Lav al yedei zrika. Says Rav Nachman, like I told you, like Shmuel, that what? You're allowed to carry in the whole city. How? Through zrika, you could throw it in the whole city. You could carry, you could walk in 2,000 amas. The rest of the city, you could theoretically throw it there. So it's a clear brisa, seemingly just like the opinion of Rav Nachman and Shmuel. So Amar Ravuna answers, Loi, that's not how you read the brisa. What do the brisa mean that you could carry in the whole city? It meant al yedei meshicha, by drawing it in. That if you're standing at the edge of your 2,000 amos in the middle of the city, and there's something over there, you could pull it into your tchum. It says Ravuna, it's great. You know why? Because what was my whole concern? My whole concern was that if you throw something outside, you might come to be drawn after it to go pick it up. But if you're pulling it in, you're not being drawn after because the most thing comes to you. It's within your tchum. Says Ravuna, that's not a raya. Ravuna. So now Ravuna flips it and he says, Says Rav Huna, you're measuring, and the measuring stick falls 2,000 amos smack in the middle of a chatzar. What's the halacha? Says the brisa. You only can carry up until that point half of the chatzar. Says Mar Pshita. Of course, you can only carry until half the chatzar, because that's as far as you can walk your 2,000 amos. Says Mar, you're right. The chiddush is the other way. The chiddush is that you can even carry until the end of the 2,000 amos, where your 2,000 amos ends. Says Gemara, Hanami Pshita. That's also Pashit. Of course, that's where your tchum ended. Says the Gemara, Ma'u the team, I would have thought, maybe one would have been concerned that you might come to carry the entire chatzar. Kamash Malan, that we are not concerned in this case of a chatzar. And that's the chiddush of this brayso, so that in the case of the chatzar, you could carry up until 2,000 amos, smack in the middle of the chatzar and not the whole chatzar. Now, how does this work? In the opinion of Rav Huna, so let's go into Rashi. It's a little bit of lengthy Rashi. We'll learn the second half of the Rashi. Rashi Dibur Maskul Hanami Pshita. Rashi towards the end says Avol Chatzar. We're holding smack in the middle of that big long Rashi, but 7 lines for the end of the Rashi is Avol Chatzar. Ein loimer b'chilik pir tzalamakam aser. What was Rav Huna's concern? Rav Huna's concern was that it's considered as if you're opened up to an area you can't carry, and that's where Rav Huna limited you to 4 amos. In the case of a chatzar, that concern does not exist. Because the chatzar before Shabbos began was what? A chatzar. You're allowed to carry in there. You, personally, your tchum fell in the middle of the chatzar. Says Rav Huna, I don't have a concern that it's open to an area you can carry, because it was a chatzar before Shabbos began. Says Rashi, because during the day you could scrape it into a chatzar. Chadegi, unehida asri lei, you can't carry more than 2,000 like Rav Huna taught you, because you're afraid you can come drawn after item. And that is how Rav Huna learned this price of Chatzi, and it's going to fit with his opinion. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Nasan Kitanoi. No, I'm sorry, I skipped. Going back a little bit, Amar Rav Nachman. Says Rav Nachman, again, Rav Nachman was the larger opinion. He allowed you to carry the full 2,000 and throw outside. Says Rav Nachman, Maidali Huna, Rav Huna, you should be maided to me. You're measuring, and the measuring stick ends at the edge of a roof of an opening into a house, of an open house. It's like an overhang of a house, I should call it. So the measuring stick ends right there by the roof. Then you're allowed to carry throughout the whole house. My timer, says Rav Nachman, you know what the reason is? Because the roof of the house goes down, and it's as if it seals it off, and therefore you could carry into the whole house. What does it mean you can carry into the whole house? Obviously you can't actually carry into the whole house because you can't walk into the whole house because your tchum ended at the edge of the house. What does it mean you can carry in the whole house? Rashi explains. You can throw something into the house. Says Rav Nachman, in this case, you Rav Huna should admit to me. Because in this case, there's no concern you might go and drawn after your chayfetz. You know why? Because the edge of the house, the edge of that roof is a clear defining marker showing you this is where you can carry until. And therefore, he says, you would admit to me in that case. And that's what Nachman says to Rav Huna. Rav Huna, Breder Rav Nasan, Ketanai. So Rav Huna comes along and he says, Machlokes Tanaim. What we're discussing right now, this discussing whether you have these mechitzas that are built on Shabbos by the Goyim, whether you're only going to be allowed to carry 4 amos, whether you're allowed to carry 2,000 amos and throw outside, that's Machlokes Tanaim. What's the Machlokes? As follows. This is our Mishnah. If the Goyim took you out to another city, they put you into a corral or something like that. Rav Gamliel wherever you are right now, the Goyim take you and drop you in the middle of a field somewhere that's enclosed, you can carry in the whole field. Rav Shuva, Rav Kiva, Imrim, Ein Lel Arba Amis. So what is this machlekes in the Mishnah? Whether you could carry in, there's a whole area that you're dropped into, or just Daled Amis. My love, that the machlekes is. Rav Gamliel, Velazben Azariah, Damru Mahaliches Kula. You know why? Deloi Gazri Hilach Dir Visar Atu Hilach Babika. There's another case. This is the case that the guy took you and dropped you in a place with walls. What if the guy took you and dropped you in the middle of a beka? If you're in the middle of a beka, you're in the middle of a valley, there's no walls, you could obviously only carry 4 amis. So in this case where there are yes walls, say Rav Elazar ben Azariah and Rav Gamliel, we do not make a gezerah because of the case of the valley, of the beka. Rather, where are you right now? Right now you're in a walled area, you could carry the whole city. Okay, fine. And says the Gemara, since we don't make a gzeira of walking atu walking, meaning right now you're in an enclosed area and we don't make a gzeira, we don't make a decree that in this area you can't carry because of a different case where there were no walls, says the Gemara, which might sound a little bit of a stretch, which maybe is going to be the Gemara's answer, tiltu atu hilach loy gazu. We also will not make a gzeira of tiltal, of throwing outside the 2,000 amis. The Gemara assumes right now the two things are very similar ideas. Just like we don't make a gzeira forbidding you to walk more than your confined area like a beka, we also won't make a gzeira of the amount that you could carry, the amount that you could throw. So the Gemara wants to assume that there's a first opinion of Gamliel and Rav Elazar ben Azariah that allow you to carry in the whole dir and tsar, in the whole enclosed area. Why? Because they are not concerned that you might get confused with the case of a beka, will also allow you to carry in our case and to throw it outside the 2,000 amis. Whereas Yeshua of Rav Akiva, they say, where are you right now? You're in a new corral, you're in a new enclosed area, you only have 4 amis. Why? Obviously, says the Gemara, because they're concerned that right now you're in an area with walls, but we're going to make a gzeira on you. We're worried that if you here are allowed to carry in the whole enclosed area, in a different case, when you're in a beka, you're in a valley, you might come to carry in the whole area. So if we make gzeira allowing you only to carry 4 amos in this area because of the area. Says the Gemara, and just like we make a gzeira of walking due to walking, tiltal atu hilach nami gazri, we're also going to make a gzeira of carrying atu hilach, atu walking, and this is going to be like the opinion of Rav Huna, that we're not going to let you carry and even throw an object outside of the tchum because we're afraid you're going to come chase after it. Says the Gemara, which again, we're not going to spend too much time. The Rishonim here are very busy figuring out this Havamina of the Gemara. But let's jump straight to the teretz of the Gemara, because the Gemara sort of is going to say what many people are thinking right now. Mimai, what are you talking about? Dilma, perhaps. Kilo, Gazi, Rav Gamliel, Rav Elazar ben Azariah, Hilach Sar V'Dir. What's the reason Rav Gamliel, Rav Elazar ben Azariah allow you to carry inside the whole corral? Atu Hilach B'Beka. You know what? They didn't make a gzeira because of carrying in a beka in a valley. Hani Mili, Hasan, the Shnei Makayim, same. They're 2 different areas. One is a valley, one's an area with walls. They have no connection to each other. Avol, but perhaps in our case, Tiltalat Hilach, the Makam Echadu, Hachanam de Gazri. Maybe they would, yes, make Gzeira. How do you know the 2 are connected? Maybe in our area, what's the discussion in our area? You're in a valley, the guy made a wall, and you can carry up to 2,000 amos. You want to know you got to throw outside of that area. Maybe they will be concerned that you'll go draw after your item if you throw it and you go pick it up. That has nothing to do with what we're discussing in our case, that will allow you to carry in an enclosed area, and we're not afraid you're going to mix that up with carrying in a beka in a valley. That's one way of refuting the Gemara's Havamina. And furthermore, the other way. Rav Yeshua, Rav Akiva Nami. How do you know the reason why they only allow you to carry 4 amos is a gezerah? Perhaps there's nothing to do with the gezerah. Maybe it's the reason they hold. That's a chiddush. When do we say that your whole house is like one big dalet amos? That's a chiddush. That's a special novelty when you live in an area, when you live within confined walls. During the day before Shabbos begin, then Chazal said, before Shabbos began, you're in a confined area. The whole Shabbos, that area is called dalet amos. It's called your 4 amos. You can carry in the whole area regardless how big it is. You never lived there during the day. Lie. Maybe in that case, when the Goyim on Shabbos built the wall, maybe in that case they wouldn't allow you to carry within those walls. So that has nothing to do with what would happen in the other case. Amarav, so we'll conclude with this. So what's the halacha? Rav Gamliel, Bedir, V'Sar, Svina, that you could carry in the whole area. Ushmul Amar, Rav Gamliel, V'Svina, only by the boat. You could carry in the whole boat. Aval Bedir, V'Sar, in the enclosure, loy. The Kuli Alma Mia says the Gemara, and the Gemara concludes, everyone agrees, Mia is like Rav Gamliel, is like Rav Gamliel by a boat, you can carry in the whole boat. My taima, what's the reason? We'll just conclude with the 2 reasons, we'll pick it up from there tomorrow. You know why? Because on the boat, you were on the boat before Shabbos began. So you were within the mechitzas, the walls of the boat during the day. 7 degrees you could carry in the whole boat. Rav Zeir says a different reason, Amar. Rashi is a bunch of them shatim. But Pashim Rav Zeir is telling you, since a boat moves, so wherever you're moving on a boat, it's as if you're moving within the boat's movement, and therefore you consider to always be within Dalet Amais. That is Machlekes Rav Zeir and Rabbah. What's the reason that everyone will agree on a boat you always could carry more than Dalet Amais within the enclosed area? Pick it up from here tomorrow.